When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Or rather, who do you see? When you look around, do you feel identified with the people around you? If so many people with different socioeconomic strata and backgrounds had one or several traits in common, what would be a better society? Perhaps because you live in a particular country, are you irrefutably linked to their ethnic characteristics? Or could it be the national identity goes beyond what you see? Is it a way of feeling, being, and living? Identity is a set of characteristics that recognizes a specific group before the rest. At the same time, it is linked to the exploration of being someone, generally questioning our background, essence, and being, and what makes us similar or different from others. Therefore, identity is shaped by the multiculturality of various collectives, and Diego will be responsible for questioning and representing them. Diego was born on December 8 of 1886 in the state of Guanajuato, son of a family with bourgeois customs and brother of a twin named Carlos Maria. That's right, Diego had a twin brother, and unlike him, he was what in Mexico it's called güerito. It is said that this characteristic created in his mother favoritism and rejection towards Diego, to be the morenito of the house. However, with only a year and a half, Carlos Maria gets sick, and 6 months later he passes away. Her shattered mother sent her son Diego for 2 years to be cared by an indigenous nanny named Antonia in the Guanajuato mountains, having direct contact with Mexican poverty. Diego said that he loved Antonia more than his own mother, who complained that her son had become a little Indian. Since he was a child, he dedicated himself to recreate the customs and reality that he saw around him. Over the years, and already in Mexico City, he entered the well-known Academy of San Carlos, where he would experience and learn that art is more than just being able to draw. Art has the power to transform a whole country. Despite having lived in many different countries such as Spain, France, Russia, and even the United States of America, and experimented with various contemporary artistic movements such as Impressionism and Cubism, Diego will never forget the images of revolution, poverty, color, and work of the peasants that their country of origin was living. A clear example of this is the Zapatista landscape. This painting belongs to the Cubist movement. We can clearly admire the geometric shapes predominate to give forms to everyday objects, something prevalent for the time. Even so, there is a juxtaposition of elements very different from what was commonly used in Europe. You can easily recognize a war rifle, a sarape, what looks like a cowboy hat, a rope, and everything rests in a desert landscape. If we think about it, each of the objects by itself do not reflect anything beyond the existence of the object, but by putting them in a collectivity, with each added object, the possibilities of these objects belonging to a universal history suddenly are reduced to a particularity. Mexico. Think of immigrants for a second. Yes, I know we're all immigrants, but I am sure that if I tell you, think of a Swedish, a Mexican, and a Japanese, most likely each person that comes to your head is very different from the other. One would have darker skin than the other two, one would have eyes more elongated than most, and a third would probably have yellow hair. Is this association incorrect? It is not totalitarian, but there are merely probabilities. In Mexico, 88% of the population has tan skin. In Japan, only 2% of its people are foreigners, and in Sweden, more than 80% of its population has yellow hair. These, plus other features that are added to the previous, are increasing the chances that the people we are seeing may belong to a culture where most of its members also have them. However, it must be recognized that not all the people of a country belongs to a stereotype, especially this is increasingly difficult when there is currently a higher number of young people who immigrate from their homelands to reside in others. And with each new generation, the world becomes more diverse and multicultural. Besides, social differences are not only linked to the physicality of a person, but also to the range of tastes, values, and beliefs we may have. Now, think about why, unlike the future, the past is recurrent in national identity. Well, it's simple. The past unifies. If we all come from Adam and Eve, Or Mother Nature, for example. However different you may be from me, your way of being, dressing, and thinking, we both will unquestionably have a shared past. Over the years and generations, we all lose with precision where we come from. However, we know logically that all of us, in one way or another, are linked to the first cultures of our society. And that is why, within the national identity, the origin of man will always be present. We're all the same because we come from the same place, and the union empowers.
Just happy we haven't killed each other yet.
You are blending. Yes, you be touching.
Feel that way about each other.
Like wine and babooty.
All right, let's go get our beef on.
And that mama pudding.
All right, thank you.
Oh, enemy, I think they're blending over there. Come now.
Mexican artists of the post-revolutionary era, seeing the great differential abyss of classes, cultures, and ways of living, and also having experienced the destruction of entire countries at the end of the First Great War, knew that it was necessary for coexistence at the development of the country, an element that would unify a diverse and cosmopolitan society. And so it was that, going back to the past, a movement was created dedicated to rescue from the whole of our revolution a whole country through what we know now as national identity. Removing the art of museums and taking it out to the streets, Diego Moral places the high class with the low, the conscious of the social struggle, deities, festivities, typical characters, all in the same picture where one can say, there I am. The identity of a country goes beyond all of us seeing each other in the same way, but it does represent a shared sense of national empowerment. For Diego Rivera, the Mexico of the future is the one that takes off its past and accepts it to be able to coexist in its present, correcting its mistakes and together being able to see a future in common.